like night and day. It'll change your communications. If you're in sales and you don't understand the law, you're on a hit-and-miss basis, and it'll probably be more miss than hit. When you understand the law of vibration, you're going to understand that you're transmitting through the medium of the molecule pictures into the other person's mind. And you want to put pictures in their mind that are favorable to them if you want them to be favorable to you. All right. I want you to think now of what we're talking about here, about pictures, about thinking in pictures. If you're going to rearrange the furniture in your room, you get the picture of where you want things, and then you move the furniture there. Everything we do it in our mind first. When we don't have a picture, we have confusion. If you try and get two pictures in your mind at the same time, you're in a confused state. So, when we start thinking about ourselves and we realize we're spiritual beings, we live in a physical body, we have an intellect, that becomes a bit of a problem. How do you see that? How do you get all that? And it becomes too confusing, so we stop thinking about it. Now, this is what I call a magical graphic. This is the genie. This picture, or this drawing, was made by a Dr. Thurman Fleet in San Antonio, Texas, back around 1934. He realized, if we take this back a bit, that most of the healing arts dealt with the physical. If you're treating the physical, you're treating a symptom. You're not treating the cause of the problem. A lot of people are into holistic healing today. That's heal the whole person. And he knew that they had to be healed spiritually, intellectually, and physically. And he knew that there was a problem because of thinking in pictures, and that's when he came up with this concept of the mind. Now, when this was first explained to me, it took me a while to really grasp it because I was getting it confused, different things. So if you look on the inside of the sheet that we give you, you'll see the drawing there, and we'll fill in some of the blanks for you. I let this drawing represent me. If I think of me, I think of this drawing. If I think of the drawing, I think of me. I see my head as my mind and everything else, the neck down from the body. Now, I'm well aware that that's not the way the mind is. Mind is movement. Body's the manifestation of that movement. But since we think in pictures, this is an excellent one. I see the top half of my head as my conscious mind. The bottom half is the subconscious, and of course, the body's the body. Now, it's the mind that controls the body. The body is like a dumb terminal. It will do whatever the mind tells it to do. It can only do what the mind tells it to do. When there's something wrong in the body, you can rest assured there's something wrong in the mind. When you see a rash break out in the body, and we say it's an allergy, you know that there's a problem in the subconscious mind that's expressing itself. All right? It's a fixed concept, and it can be altered. I always say dermatology is the best form of medicine to go into because your patient rarely dies and they never get better. All right? So you just keep saying, try this and come on back for more. Now, the conscious mind is your thinking mind. This is the part of you that you have the ability to think with. Your subconscious is your emotional mind. Your emotions are controlled by the thoughts that you entertain. You choose your thoughts and you think in pictures. You impress the thought upon your subconscious, and that causes you to feel the way you feel. Now, actually, the feeling is conscious awareness of vibration that the body's in. Because whatever is impressed upon the subconscious controls the vibratory rate of the body. The body moves into action, and your actions produce your results. Now, just see, it's the results that most people are trying to change. The results are something outside of us. Now, what we're talking about is the mind. All right? Now, James Allen said, until thought is linked with purpose, there's no intelligent accomplishment. Just the information isn't going to do it. You've got to have a purpose. You've got to have a purpose that is so big, so all-encompassing. That's why you get up in the morning. That's why you go to work. Now, your vision is how you're going to execute your purpose, and your goal is how you're going to execute your vision. But you want to get this little book by James Allen. It's called As a Man Thinketh. It's a little book. It was written in 1903. It is a classic. We have a coaching program, and I coach people a year at a time in this coaching program, and one of the first things I do, I send them this book. I send them that one, and I send another one to them. One is to get them out of the box, to get them to think very big, and the other one is to cause them to monitor their thinking. And as you get into thinking, as a man thinketh, you'll start to monitor your thinking. We've got to become aware of what the heck is going on here. Earl Nightingale used to say if most people said what they were thinking, they'd be speechless. And I'm inclined to agree with him. You see, we don't want to mistake mental activity for thinking. But at any rate, let's start again. And we'll say, there is the mind, and we'll break it into two parts. Now, this is where it starts getting interesting. I was looking for this book, and I had left it on a chair over here. If you were sitting on that, you've got some great energy flowing through you, I'm going to tell you. Now, I have been carrying this copy with me since 1963. You can see I've had it for a while. Now, in here, he said that an educated person is not necessarily a person with an abundance of general or specialized knowledge. An educated person is a person who has so developed the faculties of their mind that they can acquire anything they want or its equivalent without violating the rights of others. How many of you know what the faculties of your mind are? Let me see a show of hands. 1, 2. Isn't this amazing? Hardly anybody knows what they are. How many people have a perfect memory? Just me? How many people would like to have a perfect memory? Now, you see, I want you to just to look around. The audience is from different walks of life, different ages, different gender, and yet nobody had their hand up for a perfect memory. Do you know that every one of us has a perfect memory? Do you know I could teach you how to memorize this book? There is no such thing as a bad memory. There's only weak memories. Memory is an intellectual factor. And you develop your memory the same as you develop your body, through exercise. If I put this arm in a sling and left it there, I think you know in a relatively short period of time, it would be rendered useless. If at the same time I was lifting weights with this arm, I'd have big, powerful muscles here. Now, it's fairly obvious I haven't done either of these things, but if I had, you know exactly what would happen. It's the same with our mind. What happens? People going around, I got such a rotten memory. You don't have a rotten memory at all. You have a perfect memory. Where did you get the idea you had a bad memory? Well, when you were a little kid, you heard your parents say, I got a bad memory. What do? I got a bad memory. You just mimic them. There's no such thing as a bad memory. You have many marvelous mental faculties. And he said, an educated person is not necessarily a person with an abundance of general or specialized knowledge. An educated person is a person who has so developed the faculties of their mind that they can acquire anything they want or its equivalent without violating the rights of others. Yeah, we think, oh, we can't have anything we want. Oh, yes, you can. Every religion teaches you that. All science teaches you that. Where'd you get the idea that you can't? Well, you probably got it from your next-door neighbor, who probably doesn't know much more than his next-door neighbor. So we put these two back together, the conscious and the subconscious mind. Now, we have been programmed to live through our senses. We go by what we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. And that's pretty well the way we were programmed. You see, they are like little antennae that are hooked up to our conscious mind. They're just like antennae, picks up information from our outside world. So this is the way most of us live. We look at our bank account, that tells us where we're at financially. We look at our report card, that tells us where we are intellectually. A report card just tells you where the child's mind was for a few minutes on a given day a few weeks ago. Has nothing to do with the person's level of ability to move ahead. Nothing. We take IQ tests. IQ will change something like the weather. That's true. You can change in a person's IQ. Their intelligent quotient, it can be changed. We know so little about ourselves. You go all through school. We think the important thing in school is to get the person to understand 2 + 2 = 4. That's not the most important thing at all. Most important thing is to start to understand yourself. The important thing is to keep the important thing the important thing. We got to get it right inside. All right? Now, let's look at this. We have what we call the intellectual mind. Now, there's one of your intellectual factors, perception. Let's look at this for a second. What is your name, sir?
Mike.
Mike? I'm going to tell you there's nothing printed on this book, Mike. Am I right or wrong?
You're wrong.
You know I'm wrong. There's no question in your mind. You can see it. Isn't that right?
Right.
What is your name?
Joe.
Joe? I told him there was nothing in the book. Am I right or wrong?
Could be.
Well, it could be. I'm saying there's nothing printed on the book. Am I right or wrong?
Right there. Correct.
Right there. Now, you see, it's a matter of perception. It's not a matter of right or wrong, is it? What you see is something on the book. Isn't that correct?
Right.
What I see is nothing on the book. No, but you see this? You say, well, that's a cute little trick you pulled on Mike. But it's not really a trick. It's a natural law of the universe. It's perception, and it's the law of opposites. Polarity is a law. Like, I'll tell you that's the right side of the book. You know it's the left. Isn't that correct?
Right.
There's an inside and an outside. You couldn't have one without the other. If I sliced the right side off this book, and I kept doing that until I took the last slice off, I've also gotten rid of the left, haven't I? That's a little difficult to grasp. If I kept slicing the right side off the book. You see, most of us have a perception problem. When we say I'm right and you're wrong, you're right from your point of view, they could be right from their point of view. So it's not a matter of what's right or wrong, it's what works. That's the most important. Would you agree with that? What works? What's going to improve? Do you agree, Mike? It really is. That's the important thing. Now, take a look at the next one. Oh, back that up. Is the will. The will gives us the ability to concentrate. All right? The will gives us the ability to concentrate. I've got a couple of statues of Napoleon in my home. And I think that I have them there for a reason. He reminds me of what I do and what I don't want to be like. Napoleon had a very powerful mind. I don't think he was a very nice guy, but a very powerful mind. One of his biographers called him organized victory. Another one said he had immense capacity for sustained concentration, highly evolved will. The will gives you the ability to hold one idea on the screen of the mind to the exclusion of all outside distractions. The will is what you use when you concentrate. And through concentration, you increase amplitude of vibration. Your energy is more powerful. Okay? Now, the imagination, Hill said it's the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force that the world's ever known. And we've all got one. Let's start using it. Now, we take memory. Memory's perfect. We know what the memory is. It's a matter of developing. Now, your intuition, it's called an intuitive factor. And you develop this intuitive factor, and you're going to find that you'll just be aware of what's going on around you. You can read people like a book. And the last one, of course, is reason. Now, understand this. Yes, you watch this DVD, and you want to put it on and watch it, and you want to get it, and you want to put it on, and you want to watch it over and over and over again, because what we're going into now is very important, and most people never understand it in their entire life. It costs them millions. I could earn $1 million so easy it would make your head spin. Earning money is a simple thing to do when you know how. If you don't know how, you could work all your life and not be able to do it. The conscious mind is the intellectual mind, and the conscious mind can think. This is really important that we understand this. This is what most people do not do. You just watch the average person. They'd never do what they're doing if they were thinking. They'd never say what they're saying if they're thinking. We have the ability to think. We can tap into an infinite power, and we can build any idea in our mind. Now, every great leader, as far back as you can go, have taught us that we become what we think about. What do you think about? All right? Now, you have the ability to accept or reject any idea that comes along. So if you're listening to the news or you're reading the newspaper and they tell you that the economy is going down, you might say, for you, but not for me. This is going to be the best year that I've ever had. During the Great Depression, there was all kinds of people earning millions. Not everybody lost their money. You see, I'm not trying to flatter you, but coming here is one of the most brilliant things you can do. I was talking to a lady right here at the break, and she was telling me that she got a cassette or a tape from, it was Napoleon Hill's Principles. And she was listening to them. She says, things were going really great. And she said, for some reason, I lost it or stopped listening to it, and things started to go in the other direction. Well, we're so influenced by suggestion. Suggestion is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. And you see, if you come here on a regular basis, just when you start to slide off, it'll bring you back on track again. Now, I think you should listen to this stuff every day. We read the paper every day. We eat food every day. We wash our bodies every day. How about recharging our mind every day? We're dealing with the most potent force in the universe, and we're dealing with the mind. Now, your subconscious mind has no ability to think. It cannot choose. It cannot reject. It can only accept. The conscious mind can reject. You want to reject a lot of the things. When people start to complain, get away from them. I don't want to spend any time with anyone that talks about how bad things are or why things can't be done. Your subconscious mind will accept anything. And whatever goes into the subconscious mind must be expressed through the body. It cannot differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. Hold your hand up like that. Come on, everybody get their hand up like that. Put their hand like that. Put it here in your chin for a second. While you do that, now where's your chin? Just see? You're thinking. Why did we go here? Because I went there. If I said, let's follow me, and I went off a cliff, would you go? We have a tendency to go by what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch. We do not think. You know that's not your chin. You say, well, you put your hand there. There we go. You see, that's the defense. They did it. All right? Your subconscious mind will accept anything. Now, this is how you and I arrived on the scene. A baby, when a baby's born, its subconscious mind is wide open. You can put anything in it you want. The baby's mind is wide open. Every thought that goes on around the baby is going right into that baby's mind. You were a baby. Go back and ask yourself, what was the environment like that I was raised in? What did the people work at? What was their attitude towards money? What was their attitude towards potential? You see, if we start asking these questions, then we know what's programmed here into our subconscious mind. Now, any idea that goes into our subconscious repetitively becomes fixed in there. That's what we call a conditioned mind. It's a multitude of fixed ideas. Fixed ideas are more commonly called habits, and a multitude of habits are called paradigms. How did we get in the habit of doing things? By the idea going in the subconscious mind. It's the repetition. Do you remember when you first started to drive a car? You probably thought you were going to kill yourself. And so did the person that was teaching you. You know, that's why they were so scared. And I mean, you were having a terrible time. The clutch, the brake, the gas, you know. And now you're steering with your knee. You're looking for a pen while you're talking on the phone. And you're in traffic. It's the subconscious mind that's doing it. When you're on the highway, your subconscious mind is driving. You're not really paying attention. The subconscious mind's driving. Go to pass a transport truck in the rain when there's a heavy overspray. You go from automatic pilot to conscious, and you're holding that wheel. And when you get past, you slacken off and back on the subconscious mind again. See, this is all automatic. Well, you and I were programmed. And the problem is we were programmed with their limitations. Where did they get the limitations? From somebody the same way. We've got to understand this. Someone else may have been responsible for making us who we are. We are responsible for changing it. Now, there is thought. It's a thought power flowing into your consciousness. You can think anything you want, but the paradigm is going to dictate what you're going to do. The thoughts that you think are largely controlled by the paradigm. See, if you're conditioned, as I say, to earn $50,000 a year, what are the odds of you thinking of earning $150,000? You won't seriously think of, oh, you might dream about it periodically, but you won't seriously think. But you could. As a matter of fact, if you just made up your mind that you were going to, you probably would in a relatively short period of time. If you were going to learn to fly an airplane, what would you do? You wouldn't go to your hairdresser or your butcher or somebody. You'd go to a real good flight instructor, and you'd do exactly what they tell you. Why don't we do that with money? That's the one point that everybody's agreed on, is you become what you think about. All right? Now, the thought flows in, or the power for thought flows in. You choose the thought. You can think anything you want. Start to monitor your thinking. And the second you start to get out of the box, the paradigm will cut in. You say, you can't do that. You can't do that. Why can't you do that? Well, you'll come up with reasons why you can't do it. You see? The truth is you can do anything you want to do. Now, paradigms influence your thinking. I'll tell you something else. Paradigms influence what you do. You see, school has been interested in you getting the book into your conscious mind. What is the important thing in school? The important thing in school is that you read the book, you remember what's in the book, and you repeat what's in the book. If you do that, you get the mortarboard of the sheepskin, and they say you're an educated person. There's a lot of educated derelicts walking the street. They remembered what's in the book. It doesn't cut any ice anymore. For a while, we got away with that jazz. There was a lot of money wasted. Companies aren't doing it anymore. If you don't produce, baby, you're on the street. Cry, bitch, complain, do all you want, but you shouldn't have been there. If you're not performing, you don't deserve the reward. It's a simple concept. And if a company's paying for people for non-performance, then the company's going down the tubes. School has us programmed to believe if we can repeat it, we've got it. Well, that ain't so, because you can repeat all kinds of stuff, but the paradigm's still controlling your behavior. You see? School gave us the knowledge. However, school never taught us how to alter the paradigms. If you don't learn how to alter the paradigms, it's never going to happen. Got to alter the paradigm. See, you want to improve your results, or you wouldn't come here. I don't think you're coming here because you had nothing to do. I think you're all very busy. The people that have nothing to do, they wouldn't come here. It's a bit of a paradox. They're the ones that need it more than you do. All right? Now, what does the program tell us to do? This is the way we are programmed. The starting point is results. We look at the results we're getting. The results cause us to think the thoughts we're thinking. This is a formula for losing, by the way. But this is the way we operate. You look at the x-ray. You look at the bank account. You look at the present relationship. If you're letting present results control your thinking, you're on a losing track. The thoughts cause the feelings. The feelings cause the action, and the action produces more of the same. If you're having financial problems today, you probably were a year ago. If the student's getting an D average in school, they probably did last year. We think we've got to cram more information. No. Put the books away. Sit down, teach them something about themselves. Get them to see themselves as an honor student. Get them to relax, totally relax when they write the exam. They've got all the information there and it'll flow out. They've got to start to see themselves as worthy of the good life that they desire. When I left public school, Miss Strawn, who was a nice lady, she said, Bob, where are you going to go? And I said, I'm going to Malvern Collegiate. Oh, Bob, don't do that. Go on over to Danforth Tech, get a trade. You'll never do well in the business world. I got people like Price Waterhouse, Prudential, some of the largest companies in the world. They'll pay me on the ass to go in and work with their executives, and I would never do well. Miss Strawn was wrong, but I believed what she said until I was 26. And consequently, I never tried to get a good job. I always had a dumb job, hated the job. I remember working for a guy in the West End of Toronto. He was not a nice man. He really was not a nice man. Of course, I was poor as a church mouse, so I didn't even have a car, and I had to go from the East End to the West End in busy traffic and in cold weather all the way across the city to work for a guy I really didn't like, to do something I absolutely hated, and all the way there I was afraid I was going to get fired. Now, this is nuts. This is insanity. Do you know that there's a lot of people like that? Right in this building, there's people like that. Doesn't make any sense. They're starting with the wrong end. They're letting the present results control them. Think of this for a moment. Your starting point should be ideas. Let's let the present results dictate where we've been at. Let's learn something about ourselves. Let's start with the idea in our mind. What do you really want? Let that idea then dictate how you feel. How you feel is going to control how you act, and how you act is going to produce the results that you're getting. That's the way you improve the results. And then you look at the improved results, you adapt to the change in the conditions, circumstance, and environment, and then you start out with a new idea. You see, it all boils down to decisions. It really does. You got to make the decision that you're going to change. Now, do you know what your habit pattern for many of you? Your habit pattern brings you to this building. It brings you to these seminars. But many of you come here and you go back and you do exactly the same thing. I want to suggest that you make a decision today. You make a decision that you're going to change the whole deal. I talked about a gold card. Well, we've given away a lot of gold cards. We put them in a plastic sleeve so you can carry them loose in your purse or your pocket. And you've got to decide what you really want. Now, I'm going to show you how to go about that. And when you then write what you want on it, you'll see that the only thing you put in future tense is the date. And that is because we don't know how long it takes to reach a goal, although we guess fairly accurately. And that is governed by a law of gender. The law of gender decrees that all seeds have a gestation or an incubation period. When you plant a seed, you don't get the flower or the fruit right away. When the seed for the baby's planted, it takes approximately 280 days. Well, remember where the non-physical and the physical is all hooked together? Well, the idea is a spiritual seed. It's made from exactly the same stuff the physical seed's made from, and it's subject to exactly the same law. We just have not developed the awareness of what the gestation period is, so we guess. And oddly enough, we guess fairly accurately. Everything else on the goal card should be written in the present tense. I am so happy and grateful. You've already got it in your conscious mind. And as you get emotionally involved, you've already got it in your emotional mind. And it's only a period of time till it moves into form. You've got to make the decision. So you start out, your goal. That's the idea. You see the goal. This is where I am. And then that will dictate the kind of feelings you have. You see? That'll dictate your actions. And that'll produce the win. Then you build another big, new, exciting goal. Now this is all, it's so basic and it's so simple and yet so misunderstood. But you can understand it. You see, you want to make the connection between your mind and your prospect's mind or the other person's mind, because that's where you make the connection. You make it on a mental plane. That's where the sale's made. Those of you who are in sales, it's all made. It's a mental thing. It's not, we may think it's physical. It's not physical at all. The physical is just the expression of something that's already happened. You want to practice about 15 minutes a day. Get your performance down pat. I know a few movie stars that are pretty big ones. And you know something? They do this so beautifully. It's called imagined reality. When you watch a movie star at work, they're living the part. You see, they're not just reading a script. They're not just repeating memory work. They took the script, they read it, they reread it, they reread it, they memorized it, they internalized it, they became it. Yeah, and it's perfect. That's what we want to do. We want to write our own script. And most people don't understand that. Now, this is very important. We're going to go through it very fast. You're either living in ignorance or with knowledge. Now, we're all living in both. We know certain things, and there's certain things we don't know. Now, let's stop and think, because this is very powerful. You can think anything you want. Most people that don't understand something, they have a tendency to doubt and worry. Doubt and worry. They have taken a power that was unadulterated, it was without form, and we've given it form, a negative form. We built a negative picture. We take and we internalize that negative picture. It sets up the only emotional state it can set up, sets up a vibration of fear. Now, fear can only be expressed through the instrument that you're living in, your body. And so it expresses itself in what we call anxiety. Now, anxiety is not expressed, it's suppressed. Yet the suppression then turns to depression. This person's on a losing track. Don't even know what they're doing. The depression turns to disease, and the disease turns to disintegration. Now, that's a process. That happens so fast, the person doesn't even know what's going on. And you know what's causing it? Ignorance is their problem. What are they taking for the anxiety? Valium or something like that. We got them on Prozac or Valium or some other drug so that we got them so stupefied that they don't even know they're doing it to themselves. Should we educate them? I think so. What is education? To induce, to develop, or to draw from an end. Let's bring out something in the person. Let's go back to our thinking. We want to develop understanding. There is only one way to develop understanding, and you're doing it. You're studying. There is no other way of developing understanding. That's what these programs are all about. Solomon said, in all you're getting, get understanding. Understanding is what leads to faith. It's the opposite to that demon fear. James Allen said fear can kill you as quick as a speeding bullet, and it can. The faith